Imagine someone hands you $10 million and says, build the ultimate sporting event. You have to figure out the venue, the teams, the broadcasts, the medical staff, everything. It's a massive, high-stakes puzzle. But setting up the stadium is only half the job. To truly succeed in sports management, you have to understand the people on the field. You need to know how the human body works, how it breaks down, and how it performs at its peak. That is exactly what we are covering today. We are going to tackle this masterclass in two parts. First, the logistics of running a flawless event, and second, the biology of the athlete, including physical development and the specific needs of female competitors. Because if you don't have proper structural management, your entire event collapses. And if you don't understand physical alignment and proper planning, an athlete's career collapses before it even begins. Every successful tournament, from your local school sports day to the Olympic Games, runs on a strict 5-step framework. It is known as POSDC. The P stands for planning, creating the master roadmap of what you want to achieve. The O is organizing, actually gathering the resources, the equipment, and the money to make that plan happen. Then comes S for staffing. That means recruiting the right people for the right jobs. Next is D for directing. You can't just hire people and walk away. You have to lead them, motivate them, and supervise their work on the ground. Finally, the C is for controlling. This is where you monitor the actual performance to see if it matches your original goals, checking to make sure your instructions are actually being followed. As this chart shows, the work to execute this framework is divided into specific, essential areas. You need dedicated committees assigned to handle tasks before the event begins, during the actual competition, and after the medals are handed out. Flawless management acts as an invisible skeleton. When it works perfectly, the athletes never notice it, and they can focus entirely on competing without any logistical friction getting in their way. But getting the athletes to the starting line is only step one. How do we ensure they stay healthy throughout their entire lives? For that, we look to the World Health Organization and their age-specific exercise guidelines. Let's start at the very beginning. For infants and toddlers under 5, the focus isn't heavy lifting. It is all about getting 12 to 17 hours of high-quality sleep, doing floor-based physical activities like crawling, and keeping them far away from screens. Once they hit ages 5 to 17, the body is growing rapidly. They need at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity every single day, like running or jumping. This acts exactly like a hammer forging steel, building up their bone density and muscle strength. For adults between 18 and 64, the maintenance phase begins. The target here is 150 to 300 minutes of weekly aerobic work, think jogging or swimming, plus dedicated muscle strengthening exercises a couple of days a week to keep their posture solid. And for our senior citizens aged 65 and over, there is one highly specific need. Alongside normal daily activity, they must focus entirely on balance-enhancing exercises to prevent falls and keep their mobility sharp. Age dictates exactly what kind of physical input is required. Follow these guidelines and you build, maintain, and protect the human machine throughout its entire active life. Sometimes, even with a great training plan, heavy physical stress or poor habits can warp the body's natural alignment. These are called postural deformities. Let's look at the spine first. There are two primary curves that can go wrong. If your upper back hunches forward excessively, that is called kyphosis. If your lower back arches too far inward, pushing your stomach out, that is lordosis. But the spine can also warp side to side. If the back develops a lateral curve, taking on an S shape from left to right, we call that scoliosis. Moving down to the legs, we see two contrasting issues. If the knees collapse inward and touch each other while standing straight, that is knock knees, medically known as genu valgum. The exact opposite, where the knees curve outward, leaving a wide gap, is bow legs, or genu varum. Finally, we have the feet. A healthy foot has a natural arch that acts like a car's suspension to absorb shock. Flat foot happens when that arch completely collapses. You can spot it using a simple wet foot test. If your footprint shows the entire bottom of your foot hitting the floor, the arch is gone. A top-tier coach doesn't just spot these structural flaws, they fix them early. They know that simple corrective exercises, like jumping rope for flat feet or back-ending stretches for kyphosis, can get an athlete's alignment right back on track. Now, any masterclass on sports has to acknowledge who actually gets to be on the field in the first place. When the modern Olympics began in 1896, absolutely 0 women were allowed to compete. By the 1900 Paris Games, women made up a mere 2.2% of the athletes. Today, the landscape is entirely different. We see massive, perfectly managed female teams dominating on the world stage, bringing incredible talent and fierce competition to every major sport. But managing female athletes means understanding female-specific biology. Coaches need to be educated on the onset of menstruation, known as menarche, and they must be fully equipped to spot the critical signs of menstrual dysfunction caused by extreme physical stress. This brings us to a highly dangerous condition known as the female athlete triad. It's an interconnected cycle involving 3 things: eating disorders, which lead to a loss of menstrual periods, called amenorrhea, which then causes a severe drop in bone density, known as osteoporosis. Sporting excellence reaches its full potential only when training systems account for the specific biological and historical needs of every single athlete on the roster. So let's step back and look at the big picture. You now have the complete blueprint, merging the rigorous logistics of event planning with the complex biomechanics of the human body. Remember your POSDC framework for management: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. And always match your physical training to the World Health Organization's age-specific guidelines. If you are heading into an exam, watch out for the tricky terminology. Do not confuse kyphosis in the upper back with lordosis in the lower back, and commit genu valgum to memory as knock-knees. Additionally, mastering the female athlete triad is a non-negotiable requirement for a complete perspective on sports health. You have the structure. You have the vocabulary. You are officially ready to walk into that exam, tackle the hardest questions, and secure a perfect score. You've got this.